We're back. It's been a long
No gaming
time.
scientist.
Just
Yes.
extemporaneous, just like shout into the mic.
Um, yeah,
I
it's
mean
been
that's
a
a good
hot
cold open
minute.
anyway.
It's been a hot minute
March.
since March. Let's see what happened. I moved. I got a new job.
I
Same
did not.
career, but new job. Paid more, so that's always nice. Um,
What's really kind of, I mean, we should be clear. Paid more where it costs less to live.
yeah, so that's like
What?
a double whammy of like goodness for me.
I mean,
So,
also just like an indictment of the particular region you were in before, but you know.
and to be honest, is a perfect example of a area being too dense in population and three companies controlling most of the land, not willing to let go of said land, and then you know property owners really just hammering home that they have all power in the world. But that's neither
um,
here nor there.
I was I was yes referring to that, but also just that you're able to get so much more in a different region. Um, problem,
No,
problem.
absolutely, it's an issue.
The area cost of living is insane, and the idea that they're like, we're just gonna, well, it's not gonna even try, not
Hmm.
gonna try. Eventually, we're gonna be allowing just anyone to become a teacher around here,
I mean, Florida is
like it's
already
Florida.
saying, yeah, that what was it? I think
Veterans can be teachers.
veterans, yeah, veterans specifically, just if they can, is it like they just prove they served? That's it?
I really don't know. I don't know enough. I can't comment on that.
But anyways,
But
um,
um, yeah, that's not anything to do with gaming, but it's a good cold
no,
open.
no,
So,
um, yeah.
what are we here for?
Well, I'm here to talk about Game Pass Family Plan, Connor, but
Okay.
also we're looking ahead to see what we want to play in the coming months. I have a longer list than you, it looks like.
You do.
Not to like criticize your list, but it's just a thing
It is a longer
that
list.
it is a longer list. There's definitely some overlap that we can talk about. Um, but first, Game Pass Family Plan, which is gonna work out great for us as a duo, so we can share that financial burden together. And also, like you brought up a question of like, how does it make money?
I just don't understand how any of this like subscription based stuff is actually making real money. Um, I guess there is a certain amount of like a game will sell and like sure it might be $70, it might be $60, it sells a certain amount and then like you make some money. Whereas it's a subscription service is over a certain amount of time, you make continual money. Some games will hit it immediately that are tied closer to the company. Some games will be months later, or in the case of uh, Death Stranding, years later. Uh,
Yeah, I forgot that that's on Game Pass now, and that was like a Sony exclusive deal for a long
uh,
time.
yeah, and I actually want to try to play it again. I just haven't. I don't think I've downloaded it. I think it was too big, and I need to delete some
That
things.
was a game since March that I played to completion and actually really enjoyed my time with it. Um,
Yeah, I still need
again,
to finish. I still need to finish one of the last missions. I don't know if it was the last one, but I was
you were
I was
like in that,
basically right at the end of the game, and
yeah,
I just never got to it. It's not to get not to get sidetracked on this because we're still on game news technically right here, but uh, it was one of those moments that it just completely changed the way that the game is played so fundamentally that
mm-hmm.
I lost a lot of interest in trying really hard to play it. So,
Yeah, which I just want to, I think, address the part that you're talking about. So spoilers for Death Stranding. Spoilers for Death Stranding. Um, are you talking about like I can't remember
I'm
the
talking
exact?
about like the second or third. It's like the Vietnam flashback
Yeah,
with I can't think of the name of the main protagonist right now, but the guy, the
Sam.
Mads Mikkelsen character,
And then
not the protagonist, sorry, the main antagonist, excuse me.
yeah, yeah,
The Mads Mikkelsen character, the where you like get thrust back into like a quasi Vietnam scenario, and you're like fighting a bunch of these like ghost enemies, and then like he pops
Mm-hmm.
up every once in a while. You have to shoot him a bunch, throw grenades at him a bunch or whatever, and
Yeah, because that's the
like
only time where like combat's forced upon you, whereas like most of the
yeah, the
time
combat is not very good.
it's
So
passable. Yeah.
there are a few scenarios in which it forces you into the situation of like these run and gun moments.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay when you have to do the stealth situations, and it's okay when you have like minor little like enemy camps you have to deal with.
Like the mule camps, yeah, but like to
Right, but
force
like
you into this
when
much more
they force you into like
linear
pitch
level.
pitch battles that are like warfare wartime scenarios, because they do it to you more than once. Like he shows up in like 3 or 4 different scenarios throughout the game
Because that's like
where
the
it's
third
like,
that like third time you see him, because he shows up in like World War II, I think
yeah,
originally, or one, which
yeah,
one of the world wars. Yeah,
and I might even be both, which
and, and for me,
you know
like
it's
after that part, there was a part where like um you had to go from like one of the beginning areas almost entirely on foot, or maybe with just a bike, and the number of like what are they called again? The like the ghosts that you can run into when it's raining. What are they called on the world map?
um beached
BTs, right? Yeah, BTs.
BTs
The
beached things, I think they call
yeah,
them.
the absurd number of like beach things climbs so high that like it was annoying to get from, because simply it was a get from point A to point B, but then they removed a lot of like they were like the chiral network's not working, so you have none of the bridges that you've made,
Yeah,
none of like the infrastructure you built, so it like throws away all of your progress almost, and that's where I was like, oh, I want to finish this, but then like I did end up finishing it. I did enjoy the game. I think it's a huge mess of a game, but I don't. I think it's a, for me at least, a more than the sum of its parts situation where like, no, opposite. I liked all of the parts individually a lot, but they don't really mesh together well
yeah,
in cohesively. And yeah, I'm just curious what his next thing is gonna be. Um,
yeah. I think the story was really interesting, and the mechanics overall for traversal were interesting
Absolutely,
enough that I'd like to see them adapted. Um, but
because
yeah.
it would be
But
just
anyway,
such a shame to throw away all that like underlying tech for that traversal, where like
yeah, that
it
would be a
takes
bit.
into
That would be a bit.
account
Yeah,
your walking and how
yeah,
fast you move, momentum, all that stuff. It would just be a damn shame to throw it away. But to circle it back,
yeah,
I've always wondered, like with Game Pass, like how do, especially indie games where it's like day one on Game Pass released, how does that work
yeah.
out?
Now,
But
granted,
other than like exposure to them, I think is probably what it boils
a lot
down
of them
to.
aren't exclusive, so
Right.
they do release on Steam as well.
Yeah.
So like I don't know the numbers of like how much sell in which location or whatever, or like
Hmm.
sell whatever, quote unquote sell. I mean the goal with a lot of Game Pass is that a lot of games will hit it, they'll stay there for a few months and then they'll go off of it. So like if it's the right game, you get someone like interested enough that then they buy it or something.
Yeah.
Some games I don't know if that's going to work with. Like similarly, you get games that like people see on Steam and they're not super interested in, and it goes on to Game Pass 3 or 4 months into its release. They
Yeah.
play it
Like.
on there, and then 6 months later it leaves, and it's like now you have people who want to still play it. They'll go buy it on Steam, or they'll buy it on Game Pass for a discount or whatever,
Hmm.
or the Xbox app for a discount because they played it on Game Pass.
Yeah. Like for
Um,
me, for instance, like World War Z, I would never buy that game. I don't think. But
yeah.
playing it through Game Pass, with our friends, absolutely. Unpacking,
Other
similar thing.
example, other example hasn't come out yet. I would never spend money on Scorn, but I
I
might play it because it's coming to Game Pass.
I probably would. I'll be honest with you. I'd probably buy Scorn.
I'm a
Dream.
little bit
Oh,
unsure.
cool.
Like
Dreamlight Valley's all right. Cool.
it it feels uh very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Edgy.
Like, in a way that is saccharine and annoying, if that makes sense.
Yeah, edgy. I'm reduced. I'm
It's
being
just
reductive in it, but
it's always that way. That edgy is always that way. Yeah, sure, fair
yeah.
enough. So it feels like it's like trying really hard.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
to
get
just
that.
be like disgusting, just disgusting for the sake of being disgusting, and like body horror for the sake of body horror or
No, and
whatever.
I react to it very
Uh,
much like Jacob Geller did when I think I was watching their live reaction to probably Xbox's E3 time thing, where I think he was the only one that was enthused about it. And I'm like, I'm right there with you, man, my guy. I'm right there with you.
who's that?
Um,
I'm sorry.
Jacob Geller.
Body horror. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He's. I think he's into the H. Is it G? What is it? HG Geiger? Is it HG Geiger? Geiger?
not sure, but
HR
he's the
Geiger. HR
weirdo.
Geiger.
Yeah.
He's a Swiss artist. Oh, those are some nice mutton chops. Those are some good mutton chops. Here, hold on. This won't go on the podcast, but you need to see what this guy looks like. 1 second. 1 second.
Or will it go
Come
on the
on, fucker.
podcast, Connor? Or will it go on the
Huh?
podcast? Or will it go on the podcast?
Ah, you're recording.
I am recording. I don't know if I'm gonna be like
No, not
successful
video. God damn
in.
it. Here we go. Is my 16 gigabytes of RAM not allowing me to share my screen right now?
That would be wild.
It's not loading. Like, it's just doing the, you know how Discord does the 2 dot thingy? Okay, well, if you want to see
Right.
what he looks like, go ahead and look up HR Geiger, because I can't get it to let me share my screen right now. Being an absolute prick. Yeah, I don't understand it.
I want
Okay,
the
whatever.
man, not his art.
Anyway, so
Okay, I see it. Um, yeah.
he
So
died in 2014.
we're gonna look forward or look at the rest of this year, the calendar year, see what's happening that we're interested in. I'm gonna kick this off with a weird one, Connor. Dreamlight Valley. Have you heard of this thing?
I see it on Game Pass here, but I don't know anything about it.
Um,
Oh, it comes
think.
out in 2 days.
Oh shit! Does it?
Yeah.
Had no clue. Okay, cool. So let me try to do this. Dreamlight Valley is basically a what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say Animal Crossing version of or a Disney version of Animal Crossing. That's the better way to describe it, I think personally. Where you can be ooh. Um you can be anything you want to be, which is the Disney dream. But yeah, it's just Disney Animal Crossing and you get to play with people and that sounds interesting to me. Um so yeah, I but also it's something I think both myself and Louisa will be interested in and yeah, I think it'll be very cool. Um yeah. So that's in 2 days. Cool. I'll try that as soon as I can. Uh what's your first thing that's the soonest to release if you can remember?
I don't think I put it in that order. I put it in like order of interest or whatever, sort of, but I don't know if Persona 5 is necessarily the first one there. But Persona 5 coming to the Switch, it's like I'll probably actually play it there. If I want to spend money on it anyway. It's just, there's a lot of things coming out here. Most interested, probably. Well, let's just do Persona 5. Persona 5, I don't know. I watched it with a bunch of people when it came out, and it looked interesting, but I just haven't wanted to spend money on it where I'm like fixed to a screen or whatever. It seems like the kind of game that, despite it being long, would be suited for something like the Switch. For like, get in, play a little bit, save, get out.
Right.
It's another one of those situations for me where I am on the fence, incredibly on the fence of picking up a Switch Lite as well. Because even though I can't record gameplay on it, like it just feels like the best suited for the way I utilize that platform the most.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really use it docked a whole lot. I usually play it sitting on a couch. And so I want one. The buttons are better suited for me. The kind of squishy buttons I like more than the clicky ones that the Joy-Cons come with. Now, granted, I'm mostly using the I can't think of the brand name right now, but
The Split Pad Pro.
yes, that one.
Yeah.
Which does have those they do have those style of buttons that are a little more like the squishy buttons that like the PS5 or the PS4, probably the PS5 too, but the PS4 and the Xbox controllers have now. I don't. The clicky ones are weird. Like the clicky ones are weird too for a lot of games. One of the problems I had with playing Zelda was like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I would crouch accidentally when I was trying to run forward or whatever, and I'm like, I don't want to be. Why am I crouching? I'm crouching. I'm in the middle of combat. Why am I crouching? Um. So yeah, I don't know. Looks interesting. I'm intrigued by it. So I'm gonna wait and you should go through a couple different ones. And technically I think I have something to say about Grounded. I just didn't see it on the list, so I forgot to write it in.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to talk about that, we can. Or we can talk about Steel Rising first and then Grounded.
So sorry, 1 second.
No, you're good.
So yeah, Grounded is coming out 1.0, which is super interesting because like I'm interested in that story kind of. Is where I'm kind of at in that hmm. Yeah, so I'm interested in the story just because like I want to know what's happening. I'm curious what Obsidian does with a Honey I Shrunk the Kids model. So it'd be nice to see, I think, what they can do and, you know, go forward from there in terms of like what's what they add in terms of the base building and what does this mean they're done, or does this mean they're just this is the most complete and they'll do like expansion packs, DLC situation going forward, you know. I'm curious to see what that means.
Yep.
Mhm. All right. Next one. What do you think? Or what say you?
Um did we finish I don't know, did we already say Grounded? I'm sorry.
We did say
Fully?
Grounded.
Or did we talk about all of that?
Yeah.
No, I mean I don't know. I just think when it's fully released, like the story would be interesting, but I'm just hoping that like the loop is complete or whatever. Part of what because there's another game that's coming into that space, right? What's that other game called that's doing the same kind of like small world thing?
I'm
Small
not
world
I'm not I'm
RPG.
not familiar.
Okay, I can't think of the name of it right now, so I'll move on. I just can't think of what it's called. But yeah. What is What is Steel Rising about?
So Still Rising, and let me throw it up on the video version. It basically is like a it seems like a retelling of the French Revolution, but from a lens of like automatons, if that makes sense. So let me see if I can share this with you without it freaking out. Yeah, so it's automatons essentially. Oh, it does not like being shared. Um, yeah, so
Yeah,
it's it.
I couldn't share anything either. I don't know what the hell's happening, but whatever.
The editing for the trailer is really weird too, actually. So let me. But basically, it's like, what if the French Revolution had automatons and they were fighting the entire time? Um, and it's funny because this leads into my like anticipation of like Lies of P, because these have very kind of similar aesthetics of like automatons, and in this case, you're playing an actual automaton, but Life of P, it's like this. Uh, you're playing as Pinocchio essentially, so it'll be interesting to see what that's like. Ads, more ads. I need to get an ad blocker on this account. Um, but yeah, Still Rising. I think it's a Game Pass game from the start. If it's not, I will probably join it, try it as a Game Pass game. Let's see. And the studio prior has made decent games, I think. I think they made their own. They made like a what like Western RPG, and this is their first thing on their first action game. It looks like, and I'm trying to figure out if it's on Game Pass. But if it's not, I'll probably wait for reviews to see if I want to jump into it or not. But it is one that I have an eye on as like a lead up to Liza P. And Liza P just looked great from when they showed it at Gamescom, so it's gonna be super cool to see it continue to grow. Um,
The fuck? Sorry. Um, the Civilization 6 Platinum Edition is 15, 20, 12, and it's normally $167.
that I feel like it that goes on sale often. I feel like Civ and all its expansions, as
Yeah.
especially since it's so old, like it wouldn't be a reason not to be. Um,
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
no, my next big one, I think, would be Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which you never played the original Mario Rabbids, huh?
I did not. I did not. So I'm
Yeah,
not. It's not like a. There's no.
like
Uh,
hype for you.
There's no like nostalgia factor or
Right.
like nostalgia. It's really new, so I guess I don't know if nostalgia is quite the right word, but like it kind of is, right? Like it's not. I'm not like super
Jazzed about
excited or
it.
anything,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
I'm not. I'm kind of indifferent one way or
Mm.
another,
Yeah, yeah.
or whether it's good or not.
Yeah,
So
so we played this game, we being my girlfriend Louisa and myself, and this is one of the few games where like she dove head first down with me, the original, and we stayed up, I think like till 2, 3 in the morning playing together, take like alternating between turns. And again, that game should not have been as good and worked as well as it did, but it was like lightning in a bottle, you know. But this one, it seems to be expanding. I think they removed the grid based movement and just did like you have certain movement points, bar something, and that gives you like a range in a circle of where you can move, and you can just free move from there. But it still maintains its like turn-based strategy, cover mechanics, all that jazz. And I'm just curious to see where it goes, because like it was surprisingly deep. And I think the only complaint I had with it was like when at a certain point, and this was a common complaint, was the difficulty jumped way too high, way too quickly. So you had to end up like grinding a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but otherwise, like such a huge surprise in a good way of a game that I'm just like hyped for it, and I kind of forgot it. It's only a month away now,
Yeah.
and yeah, like it's such a good game. Like I bought it I think separately digitally so I could play it whenever I wanted to on my Switch. I didn't have to remember to bring the cart with me. But you should give it a try. It goes on sale like so often for like $10 for like the gold edition of the game, which has like all the DLC and stuff. So like it's definitely worth your time, I think. And I'm very excited for the second one to see what they have changed. Okay, let's see.
Cool. Where are we at?
Uh I don't know, but I thought I broke Google Docs for a second. Just a quick mention, Overwatch 2. I'm curious to see what that's gonna be like. You know, Overwatch is Overwatch. When I played the beta a little bit, I'm like, it's not too different for what it currently is. I'm just curious to see what I'm more interested in new heroes, honestly, and I haven't tried Junker Queen, the new one they released with the beta, but like I'll give it a shot. If our friend group decides to play it some more, I will. If not, like it's not the worst thing. Um, Apex Legends is pretty much the only multiplayer I play currently. Um, but then I think Gotham Knights, which we both have on our list.
Yeah. Gotham
Gotham
Knights.
Knights is in an
Yeah, go
interesting
for it.
place because like I'm interested and I might get it because it fills a open
Sorry.
world itch that I
Okay,
want.
I'm adding something to my list. I'm sorry.
Okay,
But we're gonna talk about fucking Victoria 3. I
what
forgot
is
this was coming out.
so Gotham
Coming
Knights?
out October 25th.
From what I've watched, I'm like this is what I expected out of like similar Arkham combat. I'm just curious like how does it juggle that many characters, and two, like how single player can it be compared to like the belief that a lot of people have of like this is forced multiplayer. Like a lot of people believe, and I'm not sure if this is actually the consensus, but I'm gonna go with it, that they're making the multiplayer more required and that a single player experience of this would be shitty. I think it's kind of the fear or vibe.
That I've seen that concern.
Yeah, which is fair because like
So
previous Batman games have been simply um single player, so I don't like think they're necessarily in the wrong, but at the same time I don't know, that seems like a really weird move on the part of like WB and DC in terms of making their game. Like why would you want to
yeah,
potentially lock out a huge fan
yeah.
base by forcing multiplayer, making the single player component shitty when the Batman games have been single player like powerhouses and like critically acclaimed and so on and so forth. So I'm interested to
Yeah.
see. I
And the
do.
combat and that
Yeah,
combat style is like has been so well tread. It's like the Batman games, the Lord of the
Spider-Man
Rings games.
games.
The yeah, yeah, it's basically the same. It's very similar. I think Spider-Man has some distinctions that make it not
Spider-Man is way
quite
more
the
about
same.
acrobatic moving around the map,
Yeah, and
whereas,
has more like outs in terms of like special abilities than the others do.
mm-hmm, yeah,
But the basics are still they're
the
still
basic
essentially the same.
rhythm of it is still the same. Yeah, whereas, and of
Yeah.
course, Spider-Man is just
And then
smaller, lighter character in general, so
even
he,
even like more down to earth version of it, but like it's still the same basic combat structure as like Sleeping Dogs.
Yeah, which
Um,
did Arkham come out before Sleeping Dogs? So like Arkham Asylum?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the dates.
Because they're very similar, and I think the only thing that Sleeping Dogs emphasizes a lot more is the grabbing system mechanics. And
2009.
yeah, because Sleeping Dogs a big thing about that game was it's you could grab enemies and then go and
I
like
mean, Sleeping
bring them
Dogs
to
came out in
environmental things.
2012.
Okay, so
Arkham Asylum was 2009.
yeah, so quite a bit afterwards.
So it probably did borrow some of the concepts.
Yeah, but Sleeping Dogs, I definitely prioritize using the environment around me for takedowns. Like, you can grab a guy, run
Well,
to
right,
like
right,
one of
right.
those shutter things,
But
and you would just slam the shutter on him.
Shadow of Mordor came out in 2014. So, um, yeah.
Man, Shadow Mordor, I loved that first one. I keep trying to get into Shadow of War, but
I don't know what
it
they did.
just
They changed the vibe a little bit. Like they kind of thrust you in the right in the middle of some weirdness, and it just doesn't feel the same. I don't know why.
yeah, I feel overwhelmed, like in not a good way. Well, usually overwhelming is not a good feeling, but like I feel like there's too much happening that I can't decide what to do, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, so like it's just a jarring feeling compared to Mordor, where like it was an origin story of sorts for Talion, and you can just ease yourself into the world of Mordor, world of Middle Earth in that sense. Whereas like here,
Ooh, that's a big game.
you're just
Okay.
thrust into this huge thing, and that's it. Um, okay, I'm gonna bring up one that is entirely a me thing and should not surprise anyone who knows me. Harvestella is the one I'm gonna talk about, and this is also a me and my girlfriend game where it's basically Square Enix's answer to like Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley. Um, I'm I've grown very fond of farming, crafting games in my time as an adult, young adult to full adult, and to have like kind of a Final Fantasy spin on it is just icing on cake for me at least. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about it because it is just a farming sim essentially, with some dungeon crawling aspects to it. The combat looks fairly much inspired by like, I don't want to say Kingdom Hearts because it's not really, but like just a very simple hack and slash combat system, which isn't bad by any means. But I want I'm very optimistic of a high fantasy version of a Stardew Valley game, or Harvest Moon type game. So is there a demo? That would be dope if there was a demo. I need to remember not to use that one. Is there a demo? But Harvestella I think is early November. So I'm cautiously optimistic about it. And I hope it is at least decent for me to just, plop down, play, and then, just waste hours while listening to a podcast, farming and shit. Okay. You mentioned it, Connor, so I'm gonna push you. Victoria 3, tell me what that is. I have no clue what this is.
It is Paradox Entertainment's new um like 4X game. Um
Mm-hmm.
it's so I've played and this is gonna come up later. Like I've consistently been playing Crusader Kings 3 since it came out on Game Pass, and it's one of the games that I consistently buy expansions for on Game Pass, and I don't know if it's coming to Game Pass or not. Victoria 3, that is. A lot of Paradox games do, but not every game does. So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't even show up as a game for purchase or any information. Interesting. Okay, so I might wind up buying this one. It is like I didn't play Victoria 2. Victoria 2 was the previous one, of course. And my understanding is that in a lot of these games, Europa Universalis is a lot more like traditional conquest focused game. Um, and I could be like anyone who's like really into these games is probably gonna like want to come at me because like I'm not like the best player of these by any means, but I do find them enjoyable. Um,
Mm,
and Crusader Kings 3 is a lot more like role play ish. Like there is a lot of like conquest involved. There's a lot of like, you're actually trying to take over different parts of the land, but like you're also role playing a particular character effectively. And like to the point that you can like any like province on the map that starts out, you can like create a new character and assume their role in that game. And I don't really know how Victoria 3 is going to be structured, but I'm sure it's going to have something similar to that kind of a thing.
mm-hmm.
But it's more focused less on like role playing a particular character and more like expanding a particular like dominion. But it doesn't necessarily mean conquest. It's like there's a lot of like you can have economic, you can conquest, but it's like economically, there's a lot more emphasis on building trade relations and like spreading influence through um like your trade associations and your cultural spread and stuff like that. But it is a real time, like kind of a real time ish 4X type game. Um, and you play and expand your influence and your empire and your stuff. I don't know. I really like Crusader Kings 3 and I want to play this one. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
more than likely going to spend $50 on it when it comes out so that I can play it. It comes out October 25th.
Mm-hmm.
So um it's probably at the top of my list, to be honest. I just forgot about it. I wasn't thinking about it at the moment, and
Right.
it is the one that I will probably wind up putting the most time into. Like, I might not think about it ahead of time all the time, but when it hits,
Mm-hmm.
I will spend stupid amounts of time after work playing this game, trying to understand the systems, never quite getting it, and
That I think that's
spending
the scary part for these games for me, and also Crusader Kings Theory is like there's too much for me to keep track of, and that's
and
why like I
also
good.
I struggle with actually playing the game and not like putting it on the highest speed
Mm-hmm.
because I get impatient and like I don't want to play it on normal speed because it's very slow.
Mm-hmm.
Doing anything is very slow. So like and when you're at war, if you're on speed 3, which is like this quote unquote standard, you're literally like waiting for troops to move several seconds to move from tile to tile. So or let me be clear, like tile county. So each like segment of the map, small segments of the maps are counties. So you're waiting for each one to move from each county to county, and it's like, why is this taking so long to get to
Right.
the enemy? And you're so you want to speed it up, but then you speed it up, and now you have like five different decisions that happen. Your fucking counselor fucking messes up a relationship check because he sucks ass and you don't have an option to change him out. You have no one else who can be him. And then someone else declares war on you, and you're like, "Fuck, that happened in 5 seconds. I shouldn't be going this fast." But uh, I still enjoy it, so I'm not giving it the best sell here, but I enjoy it.
No,
So
yeah, I think for me the hardest part for those types of games is always just like it's a lot of stuff to keep track of, and my brain just has trouble doing that. And it sucks, but like that's just I I wish I
just how it
knew.
is
It's just how it is, yeah. Um
ultimately.
Yeah, but I do want to be more willing to dive harder into those games though. And that's the thing is I need to be okay with taking time to learn things cuz I think a big part of that also is because like I have so little time for games nowadays that like I want to make sure if I am spending time um playing them that like I get my money's worth in time and it's just it's hard. It is hard. But yeah, I definitely want to be willing to try more and I think maybe I just have to watch people play it for a bit and then go from there because it's a lot. Um yeah. So one more game that I'm super interested in is Battlefield Chronicle. Now, there's a demo of this, so we might I want to say we try it out as a video, but Square Enix has been really pushing turn-based strategies, and I'm all for that. Um, though this looks like it's turn-based, but half turn-based, half RTS, and I don't know how that exactly works, but I don't see any grid-based system like Triangle Strategy had or anything like that. I just see troops moving in real time. Um, but I'm always down for a strategy RPG. I'll be real. I'm never gonna be mad at it. And these are all like super decent 7 to 8 games, so I'm down to try it at any point really and see what's happening. Um, and this I think leans more into like a fantasy, but still has fantasy mixed with sci-fi, and I don't really know the correct term for it necessarily, but Triangle Strategy did lose me a little bit with its like almost fully fantasy vibe. I do like that mix of like fantasy and sci-fi that more, later Final Fantasies had compared to the earlier ones were mostly all high fantasy or fantasy based. Um, but I'm curious to see what's like and give it a try. And I wonder if it's a Switch exclusive. Do we know, Connor?
I don't think so.
No, it is all the platforms. Now, my second question, then automatically, is it is on Game Pass? Because it's all if it's all on all platforms, if it's on Game Pass, then hell yeah, I'm gonna fucking try it right away. I don't see anything saying it is. Hmm. We'll see. We'll see what reviews are. I would love for it to be um there's a game I didn't mention that's on Game Pass that I need to know about. Okay. You go for No More Heroes. Go.
And we're here. I mean, I don't know. I mostly put it on here because I'm probably more interested in playing it on PC than I was on the Switch. It's the kind of game that feels, I don't know. I don't play dock much, so those like big, even Zelda was a bit not bad handheld, but bit rough that way.
Wait, which
If
Zelda?
that makes sense.
Like any of them?
Fair enough. Breath of the Wild, but
Uh
um, which like as a side note,
mm-hmm.
not that we can do anything about it because like Nintendo's just gonna Nintendo. I'm still a bit salty that like the only thing we get for a re-release is fucking Skyward Sword at all.
Yeah, so people there's
And
been
they did the whole like
rumors.
Mario three game thing and like no Wind Waker, none of the Game Boy games, like nothing. Nothing.
There's rumor that they were gonna do and I don't know how strong the rumor is, but there's rumor that they were gonna announce like the Wii U releases of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker on Switch later this year. Again, I don't know how strong that rumor is, but I do remember seeing a rumor that that was going to be the case. But I totally agree. Like, why of all things would you not include these like iconic games for a very fairly big anniversary? 35 years, I believe it was for Zelda this year. Like, why would you not do something for that other than just saying, "Oh, Breath of the Wild 2 is not releasing this year," and like that was pretty much it. I don't know. It seems like an odd choice, is all. But
Yeah, I
who?
don't know. It just seems like they kind of let the anniversary come and go
Mm-hmm.
to
Oh,
me,
absolutely.
and like I don't know. I guess we have had now 3 Zelda games get released on the Switch, but like, eh, I don't know. I want to see. I still want to see like a refresh of the Oracle's games, Minish
Mm-hmm.
Cap, or like an easier way to play them. I think is my frustration. Like right now, like sure, I can get those on a ROM
Mm-hmm.
and emulate them or whatever. It's like that's not that
It's not that.
hard,
It's not the
but it's
same.
technically not. It's not the same, and like it's you're still opening up like possibilities of sketchiness because like you don't know if you don't know where you're getting them from or
Yeah,
not like fully on the level or whatever. But so like make it easier to play these games because
it's gonna.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
because like you can't rely, or you can, but it's gonna be absurdly expensive to rely on like physical media for it, given how like there's just only a finite supply of these games physically in their original forms at
Yeah,
the very least.
yeah, and all the
Yeah.
batteries are now starting to die and everything. So
Yeah, like,
any of the
dude.
game, I don't know if Zelda was utilizing batteries or not, but Pokemon did. And like they pretty much all the game carts from the early Pokemon games have all died. So
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of features that relied on those batteries like just don't work anymore.
Which I want to say
So
for some of the Pokemon games, that's just like you can't save straight up, right?
I don't
I,
know about
I don't
that
know if
or
that's
not,
true,
but
but
like it makes
like,
you can't catch certain Pokemon. Certain Pokemon will never hatch if you have eggs.
yeah, because there's a
Um,
timer
which
component to
like
it. Yeah.
is is sure whatever. A lot of those have been re-released. It's like Pokemon actually does have some re-releases. There's a newer version of all of the like because they did red and green on the GBA. It's like the early games have been re-released. The
Mm.
silver and gold have been re-released. They've all been re-released at this point. Actually, has have they done Emerald and or
Emerald,
Ruby and
no.
Sapphire?
Emerald, no. Ruby Sapphire, yes. As Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, or switch those, but
Really?
yeah.
I forgot that they did those. Mega
Yeah, they were
Ruby.
on the
Wow. How did
3DS.
I forget about that?
I don't know, man.
3DS.
But
Okay.
speaking of,
That's how I forgot about it because I didn't have a 3DS.
yeah, I had one for a bit, but then I traded in, or gave my first one to my cousin,
Well, that yeah,
and then
I did
I
the same thing, but yeah.
traded in my other one, and then here we are. But speaking of Pokemon, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, I played Arceus this year. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Or I started very warm on Arceus, but then it fell into the same trap for me that normal Pokemon games fall into, which is like it's too easy. Um, that open world air quotes was empty. It felt like a Pokemon game I wanted in like the GameCube era or like the Wii era. Um, but again, I will probably end up playing this and end up like being upset with myself and Pokemon again. Um, One, the professors are hot. Like they are just attractive people. Two, the co-op is what I'm mostly interested in because we do have a friend group that would probably play this. And then there's the you can go to gyms
Scarlet,
in
yeah.
any order. And from my knowledge of, watching media and whatnot, I don't think there's a like scaling component to it. So like if you go to the last gym, you're gonna get your ass handed to you unless you play smart. And I think that's if that is true, that'd be a very interesting way to shake up, I think, the Pokemon formula. And that like I could go to the hard gym and really rely on like type advantages, stat advantages, etc. Because most of the time, my routine with Pokemon games has been train until your Pokemon don't listen, until your Pokemon barely listen to you, and then just steamroll through the gyms. But if you could go in any order, like I think that would be a cool way to like give some freedom to players. Which I think again they're saying this is like the first true open world one, which I was like, what is Arceus then? Um, that would be a great way to like reinforce. Oh, this is the first open world Pokemon game. Go to any gym you want in any order, and I'm like, cool. I hate the legendaries. I think they look stupid, but
Legendaries. What do the legendaries look like?
I shit you not, Connor. One looks like a freaking jet engine, and the other looks like a fucking like motorcycle, which you ride them as vehicles. But then the motorcycle one,
Huh.
instead of using the wheels that its body is clearly made up of, it still uses its feet to run while in like bike mode. It's fucking wild. You should look at it and look at how
Huh.
stupid they are.
Uh.
Like I crap you not, they look so dumb. I hate it.
This is ridiculous looking.
They look like those part of them looks like those dinosaurs that you see what's that dinosaur in Jurassic Park that like flails like does the fucking big flail like it opens its frills and then spits at the guy in Jurassic Park. I don't remember the
Oh, I
name
don't
of it,
remember. I
but it
don't
looks like
remember.
those to me
I've been
basically.
pretty convinced that like every dinosaur in Jurassic Park was like just basically a misunderstanding of everything about dinosaurs.
Oh, absolutely. And then they tried to like incorporate feathers into like Jurassic Park 3. But then when they started the sequel trilogy with Jurassic World, the the uh the main like engineer was like, you didn't want realistic dinosaurs, you wanted entertainment because the realistic dinosaurs would be fucking terrifying or would be monsters if you like we actually replicated them accurately, you know? Um but also like that was the reason why like
Yes.
the velociraptors in Jurassic World didn't have the feathers anymore was because like oh we could go in and change them now we wanted to.
These starters look weird. Are these really the starters?
The
Was
cat, the fancy duck, and the fire pig, yeah.
is that what they are?
Yeah,
Oh,
what are you looking
what
at?
are these starters? What Pokemon am I looking at right here?
I don't know, but the leaf cat better not stand on two legs. I'll tell you that right now. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna try it. Probably gonna be disappointed with it,
Oh, okay.
like I always
These aren't
am.
starters. These are just brand new. These are just brand new Pokemon. Like it's called this thing called the normal type hog lechonk.
Lechonk,
Anyway,
Connor. And
lechonk. Okay,
and then
there we
there's a
go.
dog that looks like that works in a bakery. Its name is Fido.
And something called Smoliv, and an
Mm,
electric type mouse called Pommy.
yeah, it's Pokemon's wild, man. Um, let's see.
Just I like just like the idea. They're just leaning in on the ridiculous. Like here's a Pokemon that acts like a vehicle. Okay, this world doesn't make sense.
It is not, but
These
it's a world we live in.
and well, it's not, but it is the world that Pokemon exists within.
Yeah,
Uh, the I also just I don't know the I didn't play the game, but the retcon with Pokemon wanting to get in Pokeballs is something else.
and that they innately have the ability to shrink that small.
Just these creatures just exist in the world. There are no animals. Have we contemplated that this is the food people must eat? If eat Pokemon,
I don't know, man.
is everyone just there? Which is no, because they show people eating food.
Our last game that we're gonna
Anyway.
talk about, or I think so, yeah, God of War Ragnarok.
Well, I
Um,
did have that one game. Let's do this first, just because it looks kind of interesting and
what's the one game?
worth Valkyrie Elysium.
Oh shit, my bad. Let's throw that
No,
on
you're
there.
good. It's just it looked kind of interesting and might be worth checking out. I might not check it out when it releases, so maybe I shouldn't put it on here. But if it goes on sale at some point, I might check it out. It's a new Square, it's like action RPG type game
Mm-hmm.
that just looks kind of cool. So I might see reviews of it before I try it out. But
Um,
if it's not like absurdly long, it seems like kind of game that would be fun to play through.
yeah, I did play the original
But
Valkyrie profile long ass time ago. I never
is that what
finished
it's
it.
based on?
Yeah, it's basically the third Valkyrie profile game, but they switched it from like a
Um,
side-scrolling like action game to it looks very much like a platinum game, which I'm not mad at necessarily.
got
Um,
it.
and I'll tell you, the first trailer they showed, I was not like, I was like, this looks weird. I don't like it. But then the trailer that I'm throwing on screen is infinitely more like interesting, I think, and appealing than that initial
Yeah.
trailer. And I think everyone was kind of in the same boat of like, oh, this one does a much better job of showing what this game could be or what this game is like instead of that weird first one. But definitely like if it's a this should be a 20-hour, 30-hour game, and that would be a great like small little piece of game before the big hitters next year with Square, which is the Final Fantasies, and Forspoken now is delayed until next year. Actually, now that I think about it, which I feel bad for that game. I feel so bad for that game. I feel like everyone
I
just
mean,
shits on it,
it
and like
is probably to its benefit to not release
this fall, yeah,
now.
absolutely, but
Like regardless of its of whether how much how far done it is, because like
or its quality, like
right, you're coming out like it is a single player action RPG that would be coming out near the same time that God of War gets released.
mhm. Yeah, and then it just
That
has like
doesn't
a mm,
seem like a good idea.
and it also has like the baggage of like the studio's previous work. So because it's from the studio that made Final Fantasy 15, which notoriously took so long to make and like had such woes during development that like
Mm,
it just it doesn't have it has a big uphill battle to fight, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
Yeah, so like
yeah, I can see
we'll
that.
see. I still will try it. I think my expectations are tempered enough that I won't be entirely disappointed by that game. Um, and who knows, maybe with more time in the oven, people will be convinced that otherwise that it is a worthwhile game. Who knows? But our last big one, I think, and I'll mention my last one is God of War Ragnarok. Um,
Yeah,
Game Informer's
yeah.
gonna do it's their cover story this month, so we're gonna probably get a lot more information about it in the coming weeks. But just I want more of what God of War 2018 did. I think it's still fresh enough that I don't need it to be super revolutionary in terms of like its systems, its combat. I just want more refinement. I want to see where that story goes with Atreus and Kratos goes. And Sony really hasn't, in my book at least, failed in their single player game for a while now. And I'm just looking for a good time. I do know from what I've read recently they've upgraded shields so that not upgraded. they expanded shield so that you could like go for a tanky shield, or you can go for a shield that has better parrying. You can imbue elements into the axe and the blades of chaos now. So like I'm looking for those small changes and like refinements and added bits to the combat. That's what I'm looking for with this game. Not necessarily a complete revolution that 2018 was, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I think because I played through the first one. Not a lot of like the marginal like extra content. Did they ever do an expansion on this one? Because I
no,
don't know if I.
it was pretty much complete from the get-go, which I'm not mad at
Yeah,
having
I
real.
played. Yeah, and I played it. I got it. I think as like the. I got it a bit after release. Like I didn't get it on release or anything. I think I got it several months after release because I got it on sale
Hmm.
from Best Buy. But it I just yeah, I it was a game changer I think for the game. Like it does not feel like God of War. Like that's the thing. It's like it is a completely different experience.
And
Um
I I I look back on because I did watch like a couple videos of like God of War 3 recently, and I'm like, there's an immaturity to the original God of War series that doesn't seem to be there in 2018.
mhm,
That
yeah.
I think definitely the original God of War and God of War, um, it was definitely a product of its time of like this early 2000s kind of
Who's that supposed to
angst.
be?
That's Tyr, the Norse
Hmm.
God of War. Don't know who this young lady is supposed to be, but that's supposed to be Tyr. I think part of their plan is to recruit Tyr to help fight Rag or overcome Ragnarok in some form or another. Um,
I think if I recall correctly from my memory of Norse myth is that I don't think Tyr had a direct involvement in the original myth of Ragnarok. Um,
and even then, like I know there's another trailer that shows Fenrir, which
yeah.
doesn't track either. I have very limited knowledge of Norse mythology, so but from memory,
Fenrir,
Fenrir doesn't show
Fen.
up for a while, right?
Well, I don't know. I don't know like the actual order of events, but like Fenrir is involved in Ragnarok, and I think he kills. I think he kills Thor.
Because from a very quick um uh googling Fenrir as well as the world serpent. Well, Fenrir is technically a son of Loki and another giant, and Atreus is hinted very strongly to be Loki, if I remember correctly. So I'm curious, like, what's happening here? What are they changing up with Norse mythology? Not that it really matters, because like it doesn't. I just want to have a good time. But I'm curious to see how Tyr goes in, and also like there's very clearly towns and people, whereas like the first one was very much a solitary journey between father and son. So I'm curious to see like how more individuals play into the story other than just the dwarves. I want to see if there's like actual towns you'll visit and things like that, or will it be more of that solitary journey with father and son again to examine their changing relationship as Ragnarok is coming towards them. Who knows? Um, I think honorable mention just because I think I want to cover it more as we get closer is Callisto Protocol. Um, very much a Dead Space uh successor. Um, is something I'm interested in. I don't know very much about it, but I'm just like, if it's anything like Dead Space, I'm sure I'll like it to some degree. Um, and then Plague Tale Requiem, which I just want to do a dive and probably a playthrough, honestly, for our channel. Um, because I enjoyed that first one a lot, and I think I'm curious to see what gameplay they improve on and where Alicia and Hugo go from there. Um, so yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that one as well. Um, but yeah, that's what we're looking forward to this year. Very quickly, I've been just playing Valkyria Chronicles. I got my Steam Deck late July, and for some reason that motivated me to play Valkyria Chronicles. And it scratched that strategy itch that I've been wanting, but did not want to load up XCOM for. And then from there, I just played it. I almost beat it, and then otherwise, I'm playing a lot of House Flipper. Um, that's just a chill vibe. I've transitioned to a new job, and I just want something chill after work, so that's what I've been doing. Connor, what have you been playing?
Um, well, first off, I haven't played a lot in uh recently, but in the past several months, I've played a bit of well, the last few weeks I've been playing Farthest Frontier, which is like a city builder settlement management thing. It's also supposed to have like wave attacks or whatever, but like I keep resetting because I'm not happy with how I start out. Um, there are some balancing things I think they need to fix in the game, and just like quality of life improvements to make it more manageable. Um, One of the problems that the game currently suffers from is that uh, workers will just do whatever the hell they want to sometimes, and like not really do a whole lot to like work on what you need them working on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that kind of makes it hard to play and actually like get your city to work the way you want it to. Um, yeah. So
Okay. But other than that, I think the next game I'm gonna dive into is probably Immortality, which is like an FMV game, and then going, I'm checking out a lot of smaller indie games. Cult of Lamb has been on rotation. Anno Mutationum is in rotation. I've been trying a lot of smaller games, I think, just because I am back at work. The summer's over, and I just don't have a lot of time to just sit down for like huge games. And then I decided to jump through The Last of Us again. We'll see if that lasts through a full playthrough, but I am checking the remake out, and you know, very complicated feelings on it, or very complicated reception on it. Um, as someone who can afford the $70 price tag, I do enjoy seeing that game in a modern way because the original PS3 graphics do look dated now. So it's nice to see how do they in this scene, how do they change their emotions on their face now that they have the technology to more convincingly convey it. So for instance, in that opening scene where, Joel suffers that tragedy, like there's a lot more nuance to it because of the ability that they could animate the eyes better. Um, there's a lot more details of the face and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see how that game changes as I continue throughout it. But um, yeah, we did it, Connor. We did a return to our podcasting. Moving forward, I think we're gonna
yes.
upload them to YouTube as just audio with a video file with a logo, and then as we move forward and as I get used to switching scenes, switching sources, I would like to do them where we have video of the games we're playing, B-roll of
Mhm.
the games we're playing, and eventually our faces as we get more and more comfortable and in a rhythm, and hopefully we'll be back to just recording more consistently and potentially returning to streaming consistently, at least with some types of games. Now that things have settled and we both are kind of done transitioning through various things. Um, but to our German fans that exist, thank you for existing and making the bulk of our listenership.
Yeah.
Um,
Dankeschön.
honestly, though, yeah, um, to think that Germany is where we hit it big, I guess. But yeah, look forward to more videos from us. We'll probably
I'll just have to
be,
like give an entire monologue in Germany in German one of these days.
dude, do it, and then
Ja, aber ich habe
see what
nicht auf
happens.
Deutsch sprechen für seit 3 oder 4 Jahre. So I don't know. Whatever. That was fucking garbage.
I
Uh,
apologize for all our German listeners for that.
um,
We
it
offended
probably
any
wasn't
of
as
you.
bad as I think it is. I'm probably more self
No.
conscious than reality, but like,
Oh, absolutely. I'm absolutely sure. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, look forward to more stuff from us soon and on the regular. Bye.